welcome to the KariClub.com. My name is Minesh, and for this month's recipe, the month of July, we are cooking a fantastic vegetarian recipe. Indian food has been well renowned for its vegetarian options, and this one is no exception. It's a vegan offering and it's gluten-free. It's called mushroom Subzi. We're making this with a gram flour pancake, which is called besan chila, or pudla as in my family it would be known. Lemon rice, one of my all-time favourite rices, and we're going to make this with a garlic and coconut chutney called chutney. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Start by chopping your red onions. We're using red onions because it's slightly sweeter. Leave half a red onion for your lemon rice later. Dice your red onions quite small to use in the mushroom Subzi. We're going to temper this with some cinnamon, mace and cumin seeds. So we're just going to fry off our red onions by tempering the oil with some cumin seeds, a cinnamon stick and some mace. Now, a lot of people say to me, oh, Indian food is quite restrictive with the same old spices, but if you don't use these aromatic spices, you'll never get these new flavours. So mace is this wonderful ingredient here. It's actually the little flower of the nutmeg, so inside you could probably see the nutmeg. These are really lovely ingredients to work with. Nutmeg and mace are some of my favourites at the moment. They're very, very delicate, so you literally just want to fry them for a little bit and then the onions will soak up that flavour. So a generous glug of oil. And don't forget, you need the amount of oil to cook the onions properly. You don't want them caramelising too quickly. You want them to actually cook properly. In goes our cinnamon, in goes our mace, in goes our cumin seeds, and in goes our red onions. So chop your tomatoes while the onions are cooking, make use of your time. And again, just like the onions, you want to halve them and chop them quite finely. So after a few minutes, around 5 or 6 minutes, the onions are quite nice and soft. They've been cooking quite nicely. Add some garlic and ginger paste. Give that a little stir. Now add your tomatoes. Add a teaspoon of salt and give that a stir. Now you want this to amalgamate into a nice paste so that the tomatoes almost disappear. So we're just going to let this cook for a few minutes. We want the tomatoes and onions to become really nice and soft together. Then we're going to put our powdered spices in. So now onions and tomatoes are at one together. We're now going to put our powdered spices in. So we'll start with turmeric. We're going to have some coriander powder and a little bit of red chilli, and we're going to cook those out for another few minutes so the spices cook properly. And just add a bit more salt. So in our box we have some beautiful mixed mushrooms. The champion of the mushrooms is the king oyster one. We're going to just slice that lengthways and then slice them again. In go the king oysters. So just let the king oysters cook for a few minutes in the spices. So the chestnut mushrooms, I would suggest chopping in half. The button mushrooms, if they're small enough you can leave them whole, but of course if they're too big then just chop them in half. And the oyster mushrooms, just chop into little dices or same size as the chestnuts. So of course we're cooking for more than 2 people. Our cameraman's a vegetarian, so he's looking forward to this, and we got a few other guests later, but if you're cooking for 2, obviously your quantities will be different. In go our other mushrooms. Leave the oyster mushrooms till last, as they'll cook the quickest. Oyster mushrooms go in, and just stir fry these for a few minutes, and then we'll start adding our aroma. We've got some lovely touches to this dish coming up. Once your mushrooms have been cooked with the onions and tomatoes and the spices, now this is where the game changes. We are introducing melon seeds. So traditionally it's called char magaj, and char means 4, magaj roughly translates to brain or intelligence. So this is really good for you. It's got lots of health benefits, and we're going to blitz this into a paste. So this is a really good tip if you don't want to use any nuts or any dairy or any cream or anything like this. This is a really healthy alternative, and I'll challenge you to show your friends and say, well, does this contain any dairy? And they won't believe you that it doesn't. But it's really tasty. So we've blitzed this into a little powder. And now we're going to make it into a paste with some water and just a little liquidizer. We've blitzed the melon seed powder into a paste with the water, and now we're just going to add that to the mushroom dish. So you can see the melon seed has completely changed the consistency and the colour of the dish. It looks like it's got cream in it, but obviously we haven't put anything in there. We're now at the stage where we want to be adding our aroma. So we take our roasted fenugreek, around a teaspoon or so. And as always with any dried herb or something, just crush it in between your palms to release the aroma. Give that a stir. And now our roasted garam masala. Pinch more salt. Now you can add more water at this stage if you want it a little bit saucier. That's not a problem, just add warm water to it. Squeeze of lemon. And just finish with some fresh coriander. So we've made our mushroom subzi, which tastes amazing, no dairy, no cream. Next we're going to make our gram flour pancakes. Now this is really special for me because this brings back a bit of nostalgia. My mum used to make these a lot when we were kids. About 120 grams of gram flour. So add the gram flour to the water, just keep whisking. We want it to be a nice smooth paste, and the water should be warm. So once you've mixed it all together, it should be about that thickness. Keep stirring so all the lumps are gone. It's not really critical that there'll be some little lumps in there. Once that's mixed, we now add some salt, some turmeric, some coriander powder, and some fennel seeds. Give that a good mix. Fresh coriander. Get the fry pan a little bit warm, a little bit of drizzle of oil. So just gently fry or lightly toast the pancakes. You'll see little bubbles come up in the middle, and then just flip them over and they'll be cooked. So now we're going to make a garlic chutney, which is really punchy, nice and spicy. Just oil, salt, chili powder, garlic, and then mix with coconut powder. So roughly chop the garlic just to give the blender a little bit of help. Decent glug of oil. Some salt. Some chili powder. So you've blitzed the garlic with some oil and chili and a bit of salt. It will be a bit of a labour to try and just get it all broken down, but generally it should be quite a mushed up garlic paste. And all we're going to do now is put that into a little bowl and mix some powdered coconut with it. Last thing we're going to make is premium aged basmati rice. Wash it in a bowl 6 or 7 times, and then we're going to boil it with a large pan of water. We're using lukewarm water. Keep your fingers separate and literally just stir the rice in the water. You can see all the cloudiness. Pour the water and repeat 6 or 7 times. So while we've been washing our rice, the water's on the stove boiling. Pinch of salt. In goes our rice. And from this point on, it takes around 7 minutes for the rice to cook. Finely slice the red onion. We don't want to chop it, just finely slice the leftover half red onion. Going to do some ginger, curry leaves and some tempering, and then just stir fry it with the rice at the end. So just looking at the rice, if you've washed it properly, you'll see a really nice clear water in there. Also, the rice will start floating to the top. You'll also be able to smell this lovely aroma. When the grains are starting to look quite full, you can just take the grain and break it between your fingers and see if it breaks gently. Then the rice is ready. So we're about a minute away from this rice being ready. Just gently put a fork in to let the steam escape. The sweetest part of the ginger is right underneath the skin, so I always peel it with a knife. If you're following one of these modern chefs on TV, they always do it with a teaspoon, so whichever your preference is, but you can see that lovely juice coming out there. So we're going to do our tempering for our lemon rice now. So a glug of oil. In go our mustard seeds. In goes our urad dal. Fresh ginger. Kashmiri chili. A handful of curry leaves. And your red onions. We're just going to stir fry these onions for a few minutes, and when they're soft then we're going to add some turmeric, some salt and a squeeze of fresh lemon. That's where your lemon zing is going to come in. So some turmeric, put that where the onions are. Some salt and some lemon. Add all this lovely mix to your rice. We've just cooked an amazing vegan offering, mushroom subzi with roasted melon seed sauce, one of my favourite rices of all time, lemon rice stir fried with red onions, a punchy garlic chutney, and gram flour pancakes, something that I used to have as a kid. Hope you enjoyed watching it. Thank you. Please visit our website www.KariClub.com, and remember, good food is always good mood.